Okay. Lily, this guy right here, this may be a reason, the whole reason you guys are here is she needs to hear. Okay, tell us about yourself. I've asked you millions of times. Just tell us a little bit about your history and who you are and what you do and all that.
Sure.
I need to have you come here and play music too.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about that. I was like, yeah, next time I have to bring my rig. I actually just played the World Series last night. I was a street performer. I bust. I always make about 3 times more playing on the street than I ever could in a club.
Really?
Yeah, yes. And so.
You go to New Orleans ever?
Yeah, I played down there. Yeah, I played Chicago, played Cincinnati's where I started. And, you know, I'm kind of the main guy around here in Columbus. But
do you mind telling me, like, how much did you make last night at the?
Last night was kind of light, but I made it was about 150, but it was light.
Awesome.
Compared to.
That's from just doing something fun.
Yeah, I mean, because on a football Buckeye night, if I just I'll play 2 different places. I mean, that's usually a $300 night. You know? And so.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's. And the key is, I mean, I've developed that craft over years where I really, you know, I know what people respond to, and at the same time, it's real. You know, it's not like I'm not trying to play things that are, you know, like if I play a cover of something, I'm really doing my version of it. It's sort of this artistic take on whatever it is I'm doing versus, you know, trying to play something that,
You seem to have quite a rig set up. I mean, are you doing multiple instruments?
Yeah, so what I got is, I got a bass drum on my right foot, clave block on the left foot, and then I'm playing my trombone into a Bossy 50 guitar effects pedal, and I often play bass lines with it, or I got an effect that has a bunch of, you know, phaser and octave higher, and, you know, so it does all kinds of stuff. And so I just, you know, get the beat going up under me, and, you know, play bass lines and play melody, and, you know, and there's a video on my YouTube now where just people go crazy, man. I've got a big crowd of the kids dancing. You know, a lot of times when you're dealing with a lot of the real mainstream folks, you know, that's clubbing college kids. Everybody says, well, they don't like live music. But they love me. I mean, some people will come and dance next to mine set up for an hour, you know, like I'm a club. And
maybe they're just not being offered anything. Yeah, they're not being offered anything.
And so I love it. I mean, it's definitely a place where it's just total freedom. I mean, that's really what it's about. It's like you play what you want to play, and it's on you. You do it when you want to do it. You come, you leave when you have to. You know, there's the, you know, you deal with the cop situation sometimes, although a lot of them like me and actually give me, you know, and so that's kind of cool. And sometimes homeless folks, you got to deal with that element. So there's stuff you got to deal with, like any job.
Do you have a regular job, or is that your job?
No, that's one thing I don't really do. Like, I don't do jobs, you know. Like,
that's good.
About like that.
You're one of the most free people in many levels that I've met in this. I think Nick Wolak, who was here a couple weeks ago, would be up in that area. You guys you really made your own life, you know. And I like that.
It's just,
but have you ever had a shitty like 9-to-5 job or?
Not that. I've had jobs as a young person. So when I was 15 years old, I bust tables for a couple months. Then when I was 16, I worked at a back rack clothing store, which is like an upscale kind of. It's like a men's warehouse basically. And so I did that, and I never worked a job where all I got was just that pay. It was like with selling clothes, I'm a decent salesperson, so I was able to make huge commissions, and sometimes I sold more than the people that worked there full time. But that was about it, because then once I got into school, you know, I went to College Conservatory of Music, studied music, And when I graduated, I went on to my master's and I graduated that. Then really the only other job I probably had was I taught college for 2 years. You know, after I got my master's, I was like the youngest professor that was there at Northern Kentucky University. And so I did that. Then they were going to offer me a full-time lectureship job, and I was like, I ain't really ready for that. So that's when I came up here to work on a PhD at OSU.
Oh, okay. How did you get?
Just finished this year.
You did.
Yeah, May. Yeah.
So what's your goal? Where do you see yourself? What's your dream? What do you want to be? What do you want to do with all your?
My dream. So one of the ways that I am making some, keeping the lights on is I promote Mucusless Diet Healing System and educate people on it, counsel people on it, and I sell these nice books down here. We got the Annotated Mucusless Diet Healing System by Professor Arnold Ehret, and I added a bunch of stuff in the margins. And
tell me a bit about what's his name again? Arnold Ehret. And I see you posting a lot on Instagram, a lot of his quotes and whatnot. Is he still alive? Who's he?
No, he was born in the late 1800s. And died in 1922 under suspicious circumstances. But he was one of the, when people talk about hippies and this kind of stuff in the 60s, the origin of that starts in Switzerland and Germany in like 1860s and 70s. And he became this whole so-called back to nature movement. So it was about getting back to nature. That's when you start seeing a lot of the first nudist colonies and people going off in the vegetarianism and fruitarianism. And that's
starting to try different things with their diet instead of this supplement, whatever people just got. Yeah.
It was basically about taking people taking their health into their own hands. That was the original counterculture in terms of the middle class. A lot of the middle class youth in Germany and Switzerland at that time, in the late industrialized late 1800s, they were like, man, this is pathetic. We don't want to live like this. We want to go off into the woods and live off the land. And so Ehret comes out of that, and he moves to Southern California in the 1910s, and he can't go back to Germany because of World War I. And so he basically just becomes this inspiration, just this figure that is just this cult figure of all of these young people in Southern California that buy into this idea of back to nature, vegetarianism. Really, they were practicing veganism. They just didn't have that. That's a whole other discussion of vegetarian versus vegan. But so that was really what was happening, and that basically lasted all the way through into the 60s, when you have the whole hippie culture and all that kind of stuff. The foundation of that is with people like Arnold Ehret and others that really champion this back to nature consciousness. And
what do you not to cut you off, sorry, that's really great, because I realize like to free yourself nowadays, you got to learn to free yourself on your mind. You have to free yourself sexually. I think free yourself health, dietary, everything. Like you just have to try to not do what you're told to do, and all those. And you got to try new things, So where did you tell us? I know this, but you told me. But maybe tell Lily. I don't know if anyone else is really listening, but it's a bar. They're not. They don't care about it. Quill is listening. Quill's listening. But tell us. Yes, Quill always listens. You're very, very attentive. I like that. Yeah. Tell us what your journey to getting to this. I know about it already, but tell us.
Yeah. So I basically grew up, and I was always overweight, and I had a lot of ailments. They had put me on pharmaceutical medications since I was 7 years old for allergies, and I went through all the Celdane, which they took off the market because it was killing people, and Allegra D, and Zyrtec, and Claritin. I did all that. I was basically a test subject for the medical establishment growing up. By the time I was 18 years old, I was over 280 pounds. I slept with a CPAP unit at night. which is like this oxygen mask that you put on because you have sleep apnea. And
What causes sleep apnea?
just the medical folks would say they don't know, but you just chronic issues up in the head in terms of excess mucus and inflammation, the sinusitis, just your whole head area is just totally obstructed.
So what does that feel like? You wake up?
I wouldn't necessarily wake up. It's just when you wake up, you stop breathing at different points throughout the night. And oftentimes sleep apnea, people snore real bad, so I could basically, it was like a little earthquake, just me when I'm sleeping. And then when you wake up, you're fatigued because you're not getting enough, your brain isn't getting enough oxygen at night when you're sleeping, so you wake up and you just kind of like, man, I'm just tired. You're just kind of tired all the time. And so when I was 19 years old, I met a guy named Willie Smart, aka Brother Ehret, a jazz drummer, and I was a freshman in college at the University of Cincinnati studying jazz trombone performance, and I was going out into all the clubs and playing because I was like, okay, I'm certain things I can learn in school, but I got to go out there and really get with the musicians that's out there, that's not associated with the whole school thing, and so I was doing that, and I met Willie, and I knew him for a long time before he told me about the Mucusless Diet, and then he told me one day, and I was at Shea Norris with my friend, the saxophone player, and we were eating all this free food, and I had these chicken wings and stuff, and he just kind of had this look on his face, and he started telling us about the Mucusless Diet and pus forming foods and just this whole, how bad it is, and I was just getting real slow, like, as I was putting this food in my mouth. It was like, it's at a point where I was like, okay, I'm not going to eat this today, I don't think. And then after that, I read the book, and it just changed my life. After that, within 6 months, I lost over 100 pounds and got off the CPAP unit, and I just looked like a total different person.
Yeah. Do you have pictures of yourself from back then?
I do. In fact, I think this book has.
Oh.
I knew you'd be interested. Lily's one of those people that'll actually do it. She really will, and I wish I want to so badly. And I'm every time you come, I'm like, man, I really want to, and then it's hard, man. It's fucking hard. How did you do it first time? You didn't have any fallbacks?
Here, look through that one out. It'll be there. So what I did was I just got it in my mind that there's nothing to lose. And see, there's a lot of people that say they're against the system and they're against all the corruption in the government and all this stuff, but there's few people that are actually prepared to cut ties altogether and totally leave it behind. It's, totally taking yourself out of the entire societal structure. And the only way that you actually do that and still be here at all is to basically go diametrically opposed to the society when it comes to diet. When it comes to controlling what it is you put into your body.
What did you eat today?
What I ate today was I had a salad at lunchtime, which oftentimes I have a fruit meal in, but I flipped it up. So I had a big salad at lunch, and then I had a couple bananas before I came up here, and that was it. Now, there's more to it than that. It's hard to just take a day, because it's a system.
I was trying to compare.
Yeah, and I had a couple, and I did have a couple apples too. But I've been on the past couple weeks has been pretty clean. If you go back a couple weeks, I had there's a before.
Let me see.
Yeah, I was a football player.
You're a totally different person.
Yeah, I was
crazy.
Offensive lineman. And did the whole jock thing.
Interesting. That's interesting.
And but yeah, so there's vegetarian levels or vegan levels where you can be eating some of those kind of things to get off of worse things. So you can eat some of the fake meat kind of stuff. We don't like to see people stay there too long, the soy products and all that kind of stuff. If you don't have to mess with that stuff, that's great, but it's not against the law if you go into some of that. I'm around a lot of people that are real strict, and I actually work with a lot of raw foodists that were unable to stay raw and run into a lot of problems, and then they come check me out like, well, to get more information about the transition diet, because that's really what I promote and try to teach people, is how you go from point A to point B. How you go from whatever you are eating now, so if you're eating your Waffle House and your McDonald's and whatever it is you're eating now, how you can go from that to permanently transition and essentially transform your physiology to the point where it's not difficult in terms of your craving. You no longer crave any of those foods. Nobody ate more meat than I did, but it's no longer food to me. There's no, my mouth isn't gonna water. It's like walking through the kitchen aisle and there's bleach. My mouth doesn't water when I see Clorox bleach. I don't identify it as food, and it's the same thing for me now with meat.
Because you were programmed to eat it, then you unprogram
yourself.
yourself.
Program, and the key is, there's the mental part, but then there's also getting those poisons out of your system. And so there's certain tools that you can use, like we do lemon juice enemas. You get into some, GI broom, herbs, and just the transition diet in itself starts to push these poisons out. Once you get those poisons out of your system, you start to neutralize a lot of the acids, and this toxemias and all this stuff that's inside you. Then it gets a lot easier. It's like you're that's the free. That we call a physiological freedom. That's where you just basically like I don't need it. And you can still be, because I'm a hangout. I can still be. And some people have troubles being in those kind of environments, but
you don't drink any alcohol or anything.
Yeah, no, I haven't drank alcohol in whatever 14, 15 years.
Do you smoke marijuana?
Nope, haven't smoked any. I did all those things before the diet. So I used to smoke weed, used to drink, would take a little. I'm taking some hard drugs when I was in high school and stuff like that. But nothing felt as good as when I started to clean myself up. Just nothing. And because it's one thing if you're talking to somebody that's never done any of those things, but I did all that stuff. And I can say it just doesn't feel, and there's nothing better than playing music or making art and expressing yourself and just being totally cleansed of that, not having those addictions, because so much of that stuff is built on the social interaction. And that's what's tough for people is they're sort of, there's the chemical addiction, but there's also the social addiction, because we're just so used to, you eat, but that's what people's social thing revolves around. Let's go over here, we're gonna eat.
Do you have a good social group of people that you eat the foods you eat with? Like, do you have a group, a solid group, or is it hard to? Do you not have a lot of people that are like you?
Well, there's more, partly because of some of the work I've done, some of the work that Brother Ehret's done. I've kind of taken it upon myself to begin a community, or at least expand a mucus-free community. So a lot of it's online, but there are folks locally, especially down in Cincinnati, up here in Columbus, and so I'm never lonely. But some people in some parts of the country can be lonely. But I put together Facebook groups called Professor Arnold Ehret's Mucusless Diet Healing System, and that's where a lot of people from all around the world are on that group, and that practice this diet, and they're able to talk to each other, and some people probably hooking up and all kinds of stuff. And so that's sort of the social outlet for a lot of people. And but yeah, with me, in terms of just social, the way that I relate to most people is through my art and through my music, and so I go wherever that takes me. So that's taking me to the streets, that's taking me to play on all kinds of bars at different times. That's taken me to be able to play with George Clinton, several years ago, and Foley and that kind of thing. And so I dedicated myself to the music and as an artist, many years ago, before I got into the diet. And the diet, music essentially led me to the diet, because the idea of artistry is this idea of refinement. And wouldn't it make sense that you clean this instrument up? You know, because that's the instrument. You know, you can be playing whatever or singing, but without having this instrument clean, this is going to be finite. You know, that's not going to be able to last as long as it should be able to last. Because what I found out and what Ehret found out was all of these, most human illness is due to diet, you know, poor diet, pus and mucus forming foods. And when you remove the pus and mucus forming foods from the diet, then I'd say 90% of a lot of these things that we suffer from, and all of these words, you know, I call them like the real cuss words. You know, I don't use, you know, like the 5-letter C word. You know, we don't even use those terms because, again, that stuff, those are big concepts that's imposed upon us. You know, you go to the doctor and they take a little blood, they do something like, well, what do I got? And now they're telling you you have something. And we're conditioned to be all, you know, fearful and scared and, what do you got for me? And then they put you oftentimes on a death sentence. Well, here's some poison, and then they take you out. And I've worked with a number of people. Now I can't say, and I would never say, well, I've cured. It's like, nah, because we don't even talk like that. It's about overcoming human illness. And so I've helped a lot of people overcome all kinds of human illness, in some cases things that they were told they wouldn't be able to overcome. And
You've seen it firsthand.
I've seen it firsthand, yeah.
And you know a lot of people that have probably done that as, you know.
Okay.
I just want to make sure you have a good solid group, and I want you to get your message out. And I wonder, you know, I'm just thinking of my friends and myself. And I'm thinking about what is it that keeps us all from doing this. And you're right, a lot of it's social programming. It's a weird, people are just afraid to change. Why are people, I think mainly it's like these people dancing to your music. They don't know there's another, because I think that music that we usually, you know, equate them with would be like fast food or something.
Right.
And the music you're playing would be like fresh vegetables or whatever. So
They
didn't know it was there. So what I'm saying is you need to, what can we do to get you out there more? Or, you know, what can we do? How can we promote you more? How do we promote what you're, you know, maybe it's not you, but your ideas, how do you promote all these ideas more?
It's happening now just as we talk, and you know, if I do more things like this, and I've wanted it to be a gradual transition out into the public, because I've seen what happens to people when, and movements and things when they go too fast and they're not ready. You know, they grow too big. So I've dedicated the past several years of trying to build a foundation that can withstand some more large-scale growth.
Yeah, you don't want it to be a fad either.
Yeah, and I don't want it to be a fad, and I want it to be something sustainable that people can do and really understand. And it's challenging because I'm trying to, there's so many different ideologies and belief systems and all these kind of things, and so I'm trying to navigate and work with people that are coming from all of these different places. But this is, I think it's happening right now. I mean, if we would have been talking about this when I got into the diet, there was no such thing as any pop stars that were promoting veganism. You know, now you can name from Beyonce to Erykah Badu to Bill Clinton went vegan for a while because he was, you know, because he didn't want to die. You know, he was like one too many heart attacks. I mean, it's really that simple. You change your diet, get off the pus and mucus forming foods, and your body you don't heal yourself with all whatever you put in. The body heals itself, but your body can only heal itself when it's properly cleansed and it's cleaned out.
What type of water do you drink?
I drink distilled water usually, and that's a big controversy, because there's people say, well, reverse osmosis is the best. Like, no, spring water that's distilled is too acidic or all that. But we've just believed in this distilled, and that's what we use, and it's worked for me and the people I work with. But I would love to get my water from a fresh spring. But even I've researched the springs in Ohio, and they're contaminated. There's nothing that's clean around here. So.
Well, if you want to do reverse osmosis, apparently the giant eagle down there in the jug fill up. That's where I get mine. But it says on the thing reverse osmosis. I don't know what that
yeah, I
necessarily
that
means.
For a minute, but the still just sort of. There's no question. That's just like the cleanest.
Is it?
That you
okay.
can get. Yeah.
All right, that's fair enough. One real quick, Mark. Thank you so much. See you soon, man. We'll have you back. Good luck on your journeys.
You do.
Yep. So a few more questions. Sorry, I was just thinking. I had a question there. I lost it. Damn it. Do you have a question for him by chance, Lily?
I did, but Daniel distracted me. And
I get distracted
my
too.
brain. Okay. Alright, so I have a bunch of allergies, which kind of forces me close to the diet. Luckily, that you're speaking of, I do eat chicken and I do eat fish, but I'm allergic to gluten, dairy. Well, pretty much I'm allergic to the whole cow because I'm allergic to casein, eggs, and sorghum, and slightly allergic to oats.
Yeah.
So my diet's mostly nuts, seeds, fruits, and veggies. But a big thing that I was kind of tossing around in my head, you're promoting veganism, which is kind of, naturally not including fish. But I have struggled with depression, and that wasn't relieved until I started taking the complete fish oil omegas. And that relieved a lot of depression issues that I had had. So I was just kind of curious what your opinions on that would be.
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. So when I'm working with people that for depression and different other, working with a lot of people, all kinds of different issues similar to that, my approach to that usually is first, it's because it's, I call the Mucusless Diet the original vegan diet, but there are non-vegan items that you can use for periods of time, especially in the beginning during your transition. So there's things that are better than other things. So if, in your case you wouldn't mess with it, but I use cottage cheese for a period of time during my transition. Now, the one thing that you maybe did, but didn't probably do, and most people haven't, that we recommend with the Mucusless Diet Healing System is the lemon juice enemas. Now, if you clean out some of that, most people, within a couple weeks, if you were doing lemon juice enemas for a couple weeks, and you were eating even a little bit more mucus-free, once you start to really move further up the intestines, at some point you're going to start seeing all of this slime come out. Slime and the worms start coming out, the black tar stuff. So when you start to get that stuff out of you, then it's like, that's why I didn't feel good. That's why, and a lot of those, mental illnesses and all kinds of stuff have been overcome just by cleaning out the intestines like that. Just really, truly getting up in there.
It's interesting that you say that, because every once in a while I question, because I'm constantly hungry, and I don't know if it's just from a lack of calories because of the way my diet is. My diet is basically based most on peanut butter, or maybe I have some pests inside of me that are demanding all of these calories, and they're stealing it from me, and they're stealing my nutrition, and that's why I'm not 100%.
Yeah, so, I've worked with few people that were meat eaters that at some point didn't start releasing a lot of worms. That's just standard. Most people just have worms, and it's just like part of life.
Right.
And it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind for most people. They don't care until they see it come out, and then they're sickened by it. It's like, well, don't be sickened by it now. It's out of you now.
Right.
So that's the first thing, and so this is really the same recommendation for most people in terms of getting started. Really clean the gut up, and the difference with the Mucusless diet and most vegans and other programs is we use a systematic approach. that really focuses on the gradual change that you do over time. So it's not just immediately you're going to cut everything out, or it's about really slowly making those changes over time. And
sorry, go ahead.
so and the one other thing that I recommend to people, I had a incredible success with something called the Sedona method. It's a it's an emotional releasing technique. I actually call it like Sedona yoga. It's just a releasing technique that is totally non-dogmatic. You don't even have to believe that it works if you're open to try it. And you go through that course, you learn how to bring up a lot of these things that we push down, all of this stuff that happened to us, and these traumas, and we push it down. If you watch children, and this is actually a natural process, if you look at children, they do it all the time, as you'll notice, they'll change their emotions on a dime, and they won't hold what they just went through. So they might be crying one second, then the next second they see something and they're happy, then the next second they're all serious, and they go from one thing to another without holding on to anything. We get older, we start holding it on, and we're basically taught by society to push it down. And so this is a method that teaches you how to bring it up to the surface and let it go. And it's remarkable. I've seen just major transformations of people that have went through that, especially combining that with Mucusless diet, the dietary change.
Man, so now say someone like Lily or I or Miss T here or Quill. How do you spell your name? Damn it. Chris. I'm sorry. If we wanted to do this, what would be the first step for us through you to do it? I mean, how much does it cost? Money, of course, probably does, right?
Well, I mean, okay. So the first thing I would say is get the Mucusless Diet Healing System book, and I'm selling those tonight if anybody wants to get one now. But it's $14.95. It's on Amazon. It's on my website, mucusfreelife.com. There's a ton of free information on there. A ton of free videos I got on my YouTube channel, Professor Spira, Mucus-free Life LLC. So that would be the first. I mean, if you didn't get anything else, the $14.95 investment is get the book and really read through it. That would be the first step. And then once you read through the book, I'm not selling a bunch of supplements. That's what most of those, you go talk to all the diet people, and they're trying to sell you supplements and herbs and all that kind of stuff. There's a place for herbs, but I don't sell none of that kind of stuff. I focus on the diet and learning how to transform, transition. Fasting is a part of the system. Rational, as it's called, rational fasting. So all these things are stuff that's inexpensive. It's just about doing the work, and being open-minded enough and really brave enough to say, okay, I'm gonna really give this a shot. I'm gonna check this out, because you have to do it for a period of time to really get the benefits and see that it is. And that was kind of what I did. I wanted to see if it was what it claimed to be. I'm like, let me really give it a shot. So that.
How quickly did you start seeing results? I mean, did you go through like some withdrawal? Was that hard to go through, or?
I mean, I was so motivated that I just pushed through it. I just was like, I'm just getting through this thing. Yeah. But I mean, within weeks, I was feeling, I was starting to notice I was losing some weight, and I was feeling a little lighter and stuff. Socially, I definitely was off to myself at that point. And but I was at college, and I was spending most of my time playing my trombone, practicing and studying. So I had stopped going out and doing the whole party thing, which I did my freshman year. So I started the diet my sophomore year of college. And freshman year I did the whole party thing and stuff. And then sophomore year, once I got into the diet, I just focused on my music and focused on the diet. And I mean, there's ups and downs. And once you learn the mechanics and the art of transition, you learn how to essentially speed up and slow down the transition based on what you eat. So if you want to slow things down, there's certain things that's recommended to eat. If the elimination gets too hard and you're feeling, as you said, the withdrawal symptoms and that kind of thing, there are things that are recommended that you can eat that's better than eating necessarily what you crave, but will satisfy you.
I got you. Oh yeah, sure.
I have my son and his new girlfriend who I have not met. And he's a fucking awesome son. He's been in Glacier National Park, like being a hippie for the last, like all summer. And then climbing in Utah. And now meeting his girlfriend in Tennessee to grow food for Appalachian poor people. And they're coming to my house for Thanksgiving. And so I have to cook vegetarian for my daughter, and I have to cook vegan for my son's girlfriend. So what is something fucking awesome? I was thinking of like baked potato with like olive oil, artichoke hearts, spinach, mushrooms, maybe a little sherry. And like slapping it all on the top of a baked potato. That was just like my idea. But like, can you give me any good recipes that I could fucking cook for this bitch? So like, she'll be happy at my house since I'm meeting her for the first time. Hello.
So one thing that is when people have a sweet tooth is baked banana, applesauce, and chopped dates. It's off the chain. Yeah, if you're
That's dessert, or what about for
yeah, that's dessert.
main course?
So main course, I mean, you can go with something like I always start, you know, like onion saute. Make something like a zucchini pasta. So if you have, I don't know if you got one of those old pasta things, you can make the spaghetti out of zucchini and summer squash, and you can actually steam it in its own. If you make an onion saute, then put that in there and cover it. Put some seasonings on it that you want, and then cover it up. But then stir it every couple, maybe every 15, 30 seconds. It'll start to sweat, and then you can basically steam it in its own juices. But you can make a lot of that. Any kind of steamed. I was real big into steamed broccoli and cabbage and that kind of stuff. Fill me up. Baked acorn squash. That's one that's that's pretty good. You can bake a bunch of those. So that's the direct type of direction I would go. And then a big salad. Every vegetable meal I always big salad.
So about these lemon enemas, how do you do that to yourself? What's the way to do that? How would you do one of those? And how long does it take? How many do you have to do before you get the worms out?
I mean, it's different for each person. I always tell people, if you're starting off, do it every day for 2 weeks, and then you can decide what you want to do after that. But if you do it every day for 2 weeks, unless you have, say, a adrenal gland weaknesses or something like that, if you have like chronic fatigue or something, I might have a different conversation with you. But if you don't, then every day, start off with the juice of 2 to 3 lemons. You can either use a citrus juicer, if you have a centrifuge juicer, or a masticating juicer, which is the more fancy ones. You can either take the skin off and put them through, or what I started doing was juicing the rind and all. So I would juice the whole thing, and then that would let me use less lemons because they would be more potent, so I could use less and get more bang for my buck. But you combine that with warm distilled water, put that in the enema bag, and then you lay on your left. You can either lay on your left or your right side. There's some people that say that the right side's the best. Other people say the left. I've done both. I do the left currently, so I lay down on my left side and reach around, and then I hold it up. So I'll hold it up with my left hand first, and then when some of it's out, I'll reach over with the right hand, or I'll squeeze it, the rest of it out, or something. Some people hang it up. They'll hang it up on the top of their shower curtain thing or something. But yeah, it goes in, and when you do the first couple, you might have to run to the bathroom right away. You might not be able to hold it. It's best if you can hold it for 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. But when you first start doing it, you might have to go just get up right away. You feel like, oh, whoa, there's that reaction. But that's how you get going. Now, every once in a while, people will do their first couple enemas, and they'll put the water in, but nothing will come back out. And be like, what is going on? And then if they keep doing it several days, after a number of days, they'll have crazy elimination. It'll all come out. What's happening is that water is starting to absorb into the crusted, dry waste in the colon, and that's just sitting in the intestines, and it kind of absorbs into that. And if you think about it, that's that lemon, that lemon juice is going to get into that and just start breaking that stuff down. So eventually, you're gonna, it's gonna all kind of come out.
Wow. What do the worms look like?
There's different ones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Have you seen them? Have you seen them? Have you seen them? Yeah. Human worms? You've seen them?
Human worms?
There's flat, because there's tapeworms, there's different species. I ought to make a video on that, because there's some crazy videos of surgeries where people had such a bad infestation, their intestine was totally obstructed by worms, and so they're taking live worms out of somebody that they have, sedated, and they did straight surgery and stuff. But we try to get the things before it gets that bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not glad, right? I need to make that video. I made it. There's on my channel. I have a colonoscopy video where I analyze. Somebody else has compiled these videos of colonoscopies and kind of these before and after pictures of people that had different ailments. So there was people that had cancer and they showed what their colon looked like and this kind of stuff, and at different ages. And you can see that even though with the colonoscopy they sort of flush a lot of things out, there was still a lot of grime, and you could see some of the mucoid plaque and the stuff that was on the walls. And then after they cleansed, the walls were a lot cleaner. But that's kind of an interesting video. But yeah, I need to do a.
So you don't. I'll stop talking about this because it's gross and you guys are about to eat. Yeah. But I like it because it's a freedom. It's a way to free. But
yeah.
when you do it, do you ever get any? You don't get any more probably worms, right?
No, not anymore. Yeah, I used to in the early days. Yeah, I had some stuff, and at that time I didn't even know they were worms because I just looked at it like I don't know what that is, but I'm glad it's not in me anymore. And then later when I did the research, I'm like, oh, that's what that was. Just a big long. There's like I said, different kinds. The worm. A lot of people don't believe in mucoid plaque, and I've seen so much of that come out.
Mucoid plaque.
Yeah, that's the name that was given to slimy strands. It's like it looks like a string. Sometimes it can get to like 15 inches long, and they start coming out in enemas, yeah. And it's just it's basically ropes of slime.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna eat. We're gonna change the subject. That's awesome. No, I mean it's interesting. It's really interesting. So these books, Prof. Spira, he's a great musician. We're gonna have you come play music next time too.
Yeah.
And these videos, you always come with your own camera. Do you put these videos on your?
Yeah. I try to put most of them up. Yeah.
Man, I tell you, it's one of those things that it's like I know I will be a better person if I start doing this, and I gotta start trying harder to be better at it. I'm really impressed that you just did it. Yeah, I'm really impressed, man. I'm envious that you have that kind of willpower or whatever it takes to do that. It's probably just fucking doing it, man. See, because I can even see myself doing it for like a week or so, and then I can convince myself like, we're all gonna die, it doesn't matter. I want to drink beer, and it's fucking hard for my brain and who I am to do it. How do you feel about, is it hard for you to be around us normies or whatever the hell we are? What are we to you? When you're around us, can you see?
Alcoholics?
Yeah, us people that are just like, because I imagine you're like, it must be like almost being in a different dimension, do you feel, is it that different, would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah, it's that different. But with me, and there's some people that can't do it, they just, I feel like that's part of my mission. That's like the life mission that I've been given is to come out, really bring this to the people, So and with my music, that's the way oftentimes that I'm able to get out here and really relate to people where I might have lost the ability to relate on certain things, but I still have a good memory of where I was at before I got into the diet. So I always empathize from that standpoint. So I don't get into, because I'm against a lot of, I know vegans that get real preachy and they get all like, and this, and you gotta do this for the animals, and that kind of thing. And it's like, I agree, but I don't get into that whole preachy thing. It's just like, look, I was there. And few people I come into contact with ate worse than I did because I was a total overeater, a total glutton. And so from that frame, I just put the information out there for people that are ready for it. It resonates with them, and my mission was just to make sure the information was available for the people that were ready and looking for it.
And you see enough people. You see enough people that you feel you've shown the way. Like have you seen some pretty amazing transitions?
I have, yeah. There's been some amazing transitions. People of all ages.
How many people would you say are you working with people now?
Yeah.
Do you have people like you? And how does that work? Is it like just for the rest of their life, you just guide them, or do they get to a point?
Well, no. I mean, I have formal consultations where people pay me, and I will work with them for either an hour session, or I have my most popular session is monthly sessions. So some people I've worked with for almost a year, and other people I might just have one consultation with. It just depends on their needs and what they want out of me. Because with some people I'm more like a life coach, because we'll talk about spirituality and talk about how that hooks up with diet, and other people it's almost like philosophers, and we'll talk about the diet, but then we'll get into some out there kind of stuff, concepts. Other people, it's more just like life coach, talk about relationships, emotional releases, and then the diet, so I'm kind of, whatever that person needs, I sort of have this ability to help people where they're at, if they're willing to be helped, if they're willing and open-minded. And most of the people that come to me already have that taken care of, so they already done their homework and they're ready. And then I got thousands of people. I think my YouTube channel almost has 6,000, which isn't that many, but for what we talk about,
that's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. And some of my videos are good, and I got, I've just kind of tried to do my due diligence with the whole social media thing, because it is a powerful tool when used well. And so, so it's growing. It's definitely a growing community. More and more people are realizing, and people don't even realize that Arnold Ehret influenced things that are in their everyday life. If you have an iPhone or you have a Mac computer, Apple from Steve Jobs once upon a time, early in his life, he practiced the Mucusless Diet Healing System, and he was a hardcore Arnold Ehret follower, and the Apple thing, that comes out of that consciousness, that he wanted to be a fruitarian. His problem was he didn't deal with the transition diet. He tried to jump over a bunch of steps where he was just, you hear the stories of him where he just was going long periods of time eating nothing but fruit. I've done that, but I've done that after years of practicing the diet. He was trying to do it immediately just into the diet, and he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He ended up living way longer. You're not supposed to live that many months after they diagnose you with that, but he lived a lot longer, probably because he knew a little bit about this. But that's something I always like to tell people, that well, every time you see that Apple symbol, then realize that that's connected to what we're talking about here.
So yeah, it's in everything. He's just. That's at least it's out there. At least it's influenced some people.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look more into him, and I always say this, but I would like. How would you handle someone like me who might keep backtracking? Do you just slap me just one day, just like, come on?
No, I either make videos or I would send you some videos. Like, hey, check this out. Some people it's what they can handle, because I can be really hardcore, but I can also be gentle. So some people need that hardcore kind of thing. So I might send you just a crazy. With you, I'd send you crazy videos. Like I sent you some stuff where you'd be like, oh wow.
But yeah, just showing like worms coming out of people and shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, worms coming out. The slaughterhouse videos are classic. That was something I got into several months into practicing the diet when I truly wanted to get off of the meat, but I was still having trouble. And then I watched a couple of those famous slaughterhouse videos. And I was like, I'm done. I ain't eat dairy products and everything. So
I read somewhere today, I don't know if it's true, but 1/3 of the world's fresh water goes to animals to keep them fed so we can eat them basically.
Yeah, I mean it's insane. I mean that whole thing that we have come into makes no sense, and we are such addicts to it that the notion of getting off of, and I just call it pus, there's pus forming foods is meat and dairy. The notion of getting off of it is just, for a lot of people, it's too hard, but it's like being addicted to any drug, and you don't even want to hear that. But when you start looking at factory farming, that whole industry, there's no such thing as, ethical slaughter. People do that, like, well, I got free range. Yeah. It's like, oh, well, they got a chance to run around before you cut the head off, and that kind of thing. And so, yeah.
I remember you telling me one time, you said it's easier to get off heroin, isn't it? Because you're not constantly getting, Burger King.
Yeah.
There's not heroin, like, just wafting through the air all the time. It's like, but you aren't affected by any of these smells right now. Like, you don't want that potato heads. You're not thinking about potato heads.
No. I mean, if anything, it's kind of. It's
almost makes you sick.
Yeah. It's like a little repulsive, but you get used to it, But
have you done like traveling into? Just from personal experience, have you done traveling in Asia?
No, I haven't been over to Asia yet.
I say because it was so. I eat meat, but I've been a vegetarian before, and Asia was just shocking to me because there's no like. If you tell, oh no, I only eat veggies. What?
Yeah, then
They're like, no, but this has chicken in it, and you're like, yeah,
they just don't get it. They just don't get it.
It doesn't. That doesn't register to them. It's like that's not a thing.
Yeah,
and then when you say like, oh no, I'm vegetarian, they're like, okay, well like here's a salad, and you're like, oh great, thank you, and they're like, and we'll just sprinkle some fish sauce on it. You're like, shit, no, that's exactly what I didn't want you to do. Like, it was crazy. Like I knew a few vegetarians in Asia.
That's what
they said it was.
It's almost like you would have to be part of a monastery, Buddhist.
They said it was 1,000,000 times harder to be a vegetarian, a vegan, or just someone who just didn't agree with the slaughter of meat in America. It was so much harder there than it was here because over there they're just like, no, that doesn't. Shit, fuck you, that doesn't exist, and they're like. And they would talk to someone, and like you're like blowing their mind. They're like, but meat. Yeah, no.
So you don't eat any carbs? Do you eat bread?
I do still eat some wheat products, but that's something you can use during the transition. Okay. Now, if you have already an intolerance to that, then you just don't even deal with that. But it's the way you eat it that makes it a little less harmful. So one of the things recommended in the Mucusless diet when you're transitioning with your vegetable meal is to have a couple pieces of well-toasted wheat bread. You can put some kind of little nut butter on there or something like that. But the reason that you toast it is because you cook out some of the gluey properties. So when you eat it, it's going to be less likely to turn into like a real slimy thing. Because you can imagine your white bread. Because you can just put that in a glass of water and you can see how slimy that gets. you know, but when you cook out some of the gluey properties, it's not as bad, and so it can kind of pass through your body, leaving behind the least amount of that residue, that slimy residue.
All right, I'm gonna end it. Unless you guys have any questions for him. Do you guys got questions? Yeah. What's your name?
Brenna.
Brenna? Oh, are you the girl that you told me to meet?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
that's
nice to
me.
meet you. All right, cool, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Brenna asked me, yeah.
I'm just curious if you've taken a measurable approach towards it in any way. Like, do you test your biomarkers? Have you gotten blood tests done, ketone bodies, or some sort of biochemical marker for your improvements, or have you considered making it measurable to be a more demonstrable process you keep track of by measurable increments?
I personally don't. There have been studies and people are doing that kind of thing now, but we tend to go, totally anti-establishment within a dietary, medical, dietetic establishment. So what I've personally done, I've studied the history of the origins of a lot of these theories. The origin of the protein theory and the vitamin theory and the calorie theory, and I personally don't believe in them. They're to me they're fallacious theories. They're problematic. The origin of them just kind of debunks them in terms of their usefulness, at least to me. So what we focus on, instead of this obsession with nutrients and bringing things in, and I need to just totally be getting all this stuff in all the time, we focus on how well will such and such eliminate from my body. What can I eat that's going to leave behind the least amount of slime? Now, I would love to see experiments done if that level of consciousness was with the people that have those in the colleges and that kind of stuff that have the ability to do these tests. I mean, I would love to quantify the amount of pus or the amount of mucus that any given food item could degrade into. How much slime does a piece of bread create versus what's the astringent power or the cleansing power of a particular kind of fruit, of an apple versus a lemon. I mean, that would be the kind of quantifiable studies that would interest me. But as far as me, I just did a video about this where I look at this as an art form, and you can't read a book on. I mean, you can learn about the physiology of how to play a piano or how to sing or all that kind of stuff. You can read, and it's really fascinating, but it's not going to teach you how to do it. And the art of the Mucusless Diet Healing System is, you could know the science behind it, but in real life, knowing all that stuff isn't going to help you really practice it, to deal with the social issues, to deal with the emotional issues, to deal with all of the kind of life things that happen. And so I treat the Mucusless diet as an art form, which means each person is really an individual. It's customizable to each person. There is no one way to do it, and so to me that's an important, one of the most important things about the way that this system is presented.
All right, we're gonna end this here quick, but what are the top 5 foods that you eat that you think are nuts? Do you eat nuts and cashews?
Sometimes I haven't eaten nuts in a while. I've kind of transitioned off of them, but whenever I ate nuts, I would eat nuts and raisins at the same time because the raisins would help them eliminate. Well, my top 5, would you say my top 5 foods?
Yeah, that you eat.
That I eat, I would say apples, grapes, lemons, and I throw spinach in there, and probably like celery if I was going to do another vegetable.
Where do you shop at?
What are your thoughts on Soylent?
Soylent? Soylent Green?
Well, now it's like commercial, and I've had a Soylent bar, I've had a Soylent drink, I've had the coffeeist, like there's Soylent mixed with coffee. Have you tried any of them? Or?
No, I mean maybe I'm not sure what Soylent was.
Some guy spent like 1 or 2 years. He was trying to find out what the human body, what is the bare minimum that the human body needs of every certain kind of vitamin, nutrients. And it basically came down to this drink that he blogged about for 2 years.
I remember reading about that now.
And I exactly, and I just read about it, and I was like, oh, that's fucking crazy, because like he would tweak one thing in it, and he would get sick. Like he literally found exactly what his body needed to like not get sick. Like, oh, a little bit of this, and he was like throwing up. But now apparently they're on the market, and you can buy them. And
well, of course.
Yeah, exactly. But I tried a drink recently in a bar, and it was interesting because the drink I didn't like as much as the bar, but the bar like filled me up, and it was like, oh shit, I feel good and I'm not full, but I ate something. It was a very weird thing. I just didn't know if you would try it.
The way I would look at something like that is if you drank that or existed on it for an extended period of time, it would be essentially a camouflaged fast.
Sure.
So what I mean by that, because one of the reasons that that I have kind of an opinion of a lot of the way that we think about nutrition, the way that we think about we need all this kind of stuff. I mean, the person that introduced me to the Mucusless Diet Healing System, he juice fast for indefinitely. I mean, I've seen him do 9-month juice fast. He either does juice fast or dry fast, and so he's done which dry fast is like the ultimate fast, and he can do that for a month and then go into where he's existing on juices. He's fasting right now, as a matter of fact. And so if humans needed protein, or if we needed all of these things they say we need, he would have been dead years ago. Diet and that kind of thing. So that's one, at least personally, I've seen, but yeah, I mean that's that kind of thing. What's the same where they put things that they think they need to pump into people when they're if they're in comas or that kind of thing. And you got your Ensure stuff and these different liquids that are supposed to give you what you need. And where our consciousness is basically that the human body is an air gas engine. So we start with that premise and say that breathing is like the most important thing. Like you want nutrition, take a breath.
Sure.
Anything that gets in the way of your blood getting oxygen is essentially harmful. Yeah, that's robbing you of some kind of life or vitality. So what the Mucusless diet does is essentially allow you to get as much oxygen into your blood as you can, just with no obstruction.
Sure.
That's interesting. I remember hearing once, I don't know, this is kind of crazy sounding, but do you think it's possible, have you ever heard of the monks, I don't know where they live, but I think they live in the Himalayas, that live off sunlight? You think there's a possibility of that?
Well, air and sunlight. There's the controversial notion of what people call a breatharian.
Yeah.
And now I actually have a band called the Breatharian Ensemble. And that was the first place where I really started talking about Mucusless diet and that kind of thing. Now, of course, people think that we're all, are you guys breatharians? It's like, we have a band and that's our theme. That's the there's people in the band that are working to become that. So, Brother
Anybody
Ehret,
that's gotten close?
Brother Ehret, who I just was telling you about, he's able to fast for 30 days dry or fast for 9 months on just juice. You know,
What's dry? What does that mean, dry?
dry means you're doing nothing but nothing. Yeah, you're doing nothing but just breathing air. And so so you can go 30 days. You know, no water, no food, no juice.
Is there science behind it? Like you do certain things at certain times, or?
Well, I mean,
like,
the science
how does your
is,
body exists on a night?
like, according to Arnold Ehret, vitality equals power minus obstruction.
Okay.
Meaning that if you remove all of the obstruction out of your body, all the way down to the cellular level, that you're essentially a perpetual motion air gas engine that would run and really never stop. You know, the breathing process. You breathe in and you have all the chemical reactions. That the chemistry of breath alone can, in theory, keep you alive. And we don't know how long it can take. Because all the stuff they have in books about how long it takes for you to die without food is wrong. Now, when people do die, because then people get mad at me and say, oh, well, what about these starving children, all that kind of stuff. These people are dying, in our opinion, from mucus poisoning. Meaning, I would never tell somebody in that condition to fast like that. And that would not happen. You start off with 24 hours. Of course, a lot of these people, they don't have access to what they need to be able to fast properly and to be able to eat properly.
Sure.
So, but that's the difference. You see, because my friend that fasts like that, he's skinny, but he doesn't, you wouldn't know he was fasting unless he told you.
Does he intake vitamins or supplements of any kind?
No. Yeah. I mean, we're not on that at all. You know,
Okay.
it's the whole vitamin thing, that kind of thing. And so it's really mechanics and physiology. You know,
Sure.
The idea, the cleaner you get your body, the more refined it is, so the better you will operate on more refined foods, which are the fruit and the vegetables, and to the point where you need those really less and less because they're cleansing agents. And as you really get your body clean, you just find that you just don't want it as much.
Sure.
You operate fine.
Do you feel like human beings have been programmed basically to need all those things? So it's like we have a physiological change in our bodies, to where that's why at one time maybe we were breatharian, you know, but then we got addicted to all this stuff, so our bodies have physically changed. Or maybe why would we have teeth if we weren't supposed to, eat meat? Well, maybe they grew because, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And those are some of the more advanced, like, philosophical discussions that we get into when I was talking about some of that kind of stuff. Yeah, just things that blow people's minds. If really looking at that, looking at what is it possible? Embryology. You start to study embryology, and you notice that first of all, humans go through all the stages of the other animals, but those other animals stop. And so if you've ever seen a graph of the early stages of any animal, they all look essentially the same. Our embryo looks like a dog, looks like a fish, everybody looks the same, but they start going in different directions and stop at a certain point. Humans don't stop. We go all the way into the human form, but we're the only organism that I know of that goes through all of those different forms and ends up at, that's why they say, the crown of creation, that ends up at that human level.
You're so cute. Good night. I have to go home. I have to work tomorrow. But I want to buy one of your breaks. I want the cash tonight, so next time.
All right.
Thanks, Mama T. Thanks for listening.
I've enjoyed
Thanks for giving us the updates on the game, too.
They won.
All right. Where do you shop at for your fruit and
I
stuff?
shop at not always fancy places. Kroger has some decent organic stuff. I'll go there, and even
So you're not like super
non-organic.
picky about it.
Yeah, I'm not super picky about that. I mean, I will go to some of the local farmers markets when I can, or I'll go to friends that have gardens during that time of the year. I never buy, I don't go places that are super expensive, so I don't buy food at Whole Foods and stuff. I buy soap at Whole
Whole
Foods.
paycheck.
Yeah. No, I buy $2 soap that has 3 ingredients. That's the soap I use that they sell at Whole Foods. It's $2. It has like literally 3 ingredients in it, and I'm like, cool. That's what I buy at Whole Foods is soap.
Exactly.
But yeah. So you get Kroger's, or I mean, the Giant Eagle if it's late night, because I don't know, they're more expensive than Kroger. So I like a place up the street, Lucky's. They're kind of hip.
Trader Joe's.
Yeah, Trader Joe's. Yeah, I'll go up there, and I actually like there's some folks in the community that are real hardcore. They would never drink store-bought juice, but I will get some of that pineapple juice sometimes.
Dude, Trader Joe's, TJ's and stuff. TJ's juice is fucking great.
Yeah, they got really good juice.
I've made my own versions of the same things, and like it tastes exactly the same.
Yeah.
Buying 22 pineapples is way more expensive.
Yeah, but I still do. I do that, and I used to do that more, and I need to get back into that. But I love making grape juice. Like right now, grapes are on sale for 64 cents a pound
just
or
throw the
something. Just do the whole thing in there. I might cut it with an apple and put lemon in there, and just I'm in heaven. I can do that. And, the apple juice, get a boxes. I will shop at. Midwest Fresh is a wholesaler that's down, kind of near downtown, and I used to go there and get boxes of lemons and boxes of apples and stuff from them. And if you have a family and you're trying to feed a whole bunch of people, that's really the direction that I recommend people go is go to wholesalers. Because every city has them. There's Midwest Fresh. There's some other places in Columbus. Janan. I got her history. She used to go to a wholesaler all the time.
Have you ever contacted anyone about doing a TED Talk about this?
I haven't. I've had a lot of people tell me I should do one, and so that's something that I learned how to who I should contact. Yeah, I would love to do.
Yeah, you should totally do a TED Talk. Yeah. Because your stuff is as interesting as anything I've ever heard on there. And some of those are just kind of like, but yours is real good.
Thank you.
Well, man, thank you very much for doing the show. It's a good talk.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And
Prof Spira.
And I was going to say, and Janan wishes she could have been here tonight. She didn't have, and I want to thank her for this beautiful.
She is an enigma.
Yes. Yeah. Is she in Cleveland now?
She is in Cleveland.
Are you?
now.
Do you hang out with her still?
Yeah, I was just up there yesterday. Of course, I played the game, and then I stayed up there, and she's just getting it together.
Good.
Things together.
Yep. We're in a band, and can you play with us sometime? Can you do some music with us?
Yeah.
Just do some songs or something.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll have you back. All right. Pro Spira, everybody. Thanks a lot for